Mud slops around your ankles as the late afternoon rain patters off waxed roads and soaks into the churned field. Mud slops around your ankles as the late afternoon rain patters off waxed roads and soaks into the churned field. Mud slops around your ankle as the late afternoon rain patters off waxed roads soaks into the churned field. The soil may once have nurtured wheat, but is now home only to the sprawl and grime of an encampment army. You pick your way across the sopping turf toward the strangle line of tents that serve as a makeshift perimeter. As you draw closer to the canvas array, you see a tattered coat of arms through the rain. The same falcon sigil adorns your imperial summons to the town of Thornback Hollow. A few soldiers huddle around struggling fires. Some dressed in the black and yellow of their feudal master, others in the same peasant garb they were wearing when they were ordered to serve. Judging by the demeanor and the condition of the surrounding fields, they have been here for several weeks. The lack of activity suggests most others are taking cover from the weather. "You! Stop there!" Turning towards the voice, you see a woman striding through the murk in the direction. Turning towards the voice, you see a woman striding through the murk in your direction. She wipes some rainwater from her eyes and brandishes a rake. The black and yellow livery suggests she's with the soldiers. Thornback Hollow is under quarantine. Thornback Hollow is under quarantine. What is your business here? Gesture, or summon, or troubles, and whatever it is. Let's give it a decree. You pull out the parchment from its leather pouch and offer it to your interrogator. She studies the document, darting her eyes from the sigil on this page to the coat of your arms on a nearby pennant and back again. She pauses, looking you up and down as she considers her next move. Right, can't be too careful. I need to clear this with Baron Morlund. Stay here until I get back. The soldier glances around the wide open avenues between the tents. Then she looks back at you. Don't go anywhere, she adds. Baron hates if you're late. You watch her stride away and disappear between the lines of temporary dwellings. The rain splashes around you and drips from your sleeves. She won't begrudge you finding a little shelter, surely. As you settle in under a nearby canopy, a different soldier dashes up, almost losing his footing in the mud. He grabs your shoulder. "Are you a doctor?" he grabs out, not waiting for a reply. "Come with me. My friend needs medicine. Please." I am, but it's vital that I have here. It's vital that I wait here to meet the Baron. Perhaps I can help if you tell me about your friend's condition. It sounds serious. Let's go at once. Tell me the condition. The soldiers seem to settle down a bit. Rowan, that's his name. He showed me a gash on his legs a few days back. We had a patrol duties because he found it hard to work. We had to switch patrol duties because he found it hard to walk. Anyway, now he has the sweats and the leg isn't healing. Does it smell? No worse than anything else around here, he says. I'm jarring, by the way. Satisfied the gash has not taken an unpleasant turn, you tell the soldier to first wash his friend's legs with vinegar. He nods as you dig into your medicine pouch and produce some verdigris pigment. You instruct him to combine this with honey, warm the mixture and smear it on the cut. I'll have to barter for the honey, but if you say you help Rowan, then it's worth it. Thank you. The rain beats down. As you hand over the pigment, the two of you are joined by the woman with the rake. Jaren greets her with enthusiasm. Get this to the Baron, Rhea. Thornback Hollow needs, he pauses, suddenly conscious not to assume who resides beneath the mask and robes. Needs him, needs them, needs her. Let's go gender neutral. Needs them, got it. With that, Jaren heads off at a sprint. You're actually still here. Wise choice. Twice as instructed. I mean, very wise indeed. The returning soldier walks a full circle around you, adding under her breath. And I say Rhea isn't fit for guard duty. You greet her and note with relief that the rake is no longer find itself pointed at your gut. All right, she says. Good news. Baron Morland is eager to meet you. Well, those weren't his exact words, but you're clear to see him. She points at the flag, fluttering higher than the more. She points at the flag, fluttering higher than the more modest tents. Head for that coat of arms with the bloody great bird on it. The Baron likes to remind us he's always watching over our activities. The Baron likes to remind us he's always watching over our activities, or just soaring above us all. It's one of those. Her message delivered, Rhea strides away across the southern camp to pursue some new duty. Set off towards the flag. With the center of the camp threatening to become a dirt reservoir, you follow the pathway that looks less likely to drag you to a mud-filled grave. It leads you alongside some farm buildings, a short distance away from the main hub of camp activity. You pause to peer through a crack in the wooden structure. The building appeared to have been repurposed as basic living quarters for more of Baron Morland levied troops. Thornback Hollow's farmers must either have fled or now reside in the town itself. Ripe scent of hastily dug latrines waft in the air. Ripe scents of hastily dug latrines waft in the damp air. As you move on the path between two abandoned barns, a figure steps out the shadows. You, give everything you have. Give me. Your would-be assailant cuts a bedraggled figure. Rainwater runs through thin straggles of hair and drips off a drawn, malnourished face. He wields a stub of a knife and waves it in the general direction of your medicinal pouches. This is ridiculous. I push past the pathetic thief, an intimidating voice to make him back down, convince him that how much. The poor lad is in a bad way. Give him some food. Adopt in Timmy voice. Okay. Do you know what this mask means? You ask, advancing on the knife-wielding man. It means I'm a plague doctor. It means I've survived diseases that have lain waste to entire towns. I've faced down deities of mortality, pestilence, and ruin. You made an extremely poor decision to rob me, but if you scuttle away now, then I won't hold it against you. The man opens and closes his mouth a few times, forces out a quiet cry, and turns tail. You give him a few moments to escape into the distance before continuing onwards to the Baron's location. Onwards through the camp. You arrive at Baron Morland's fancy tent and are accosted by 2 guards. Unlike the peasants in the lower parts of the camp, these soldiers are well equipped and in fine livery. You present them with your letter of summons. Seem to check out, the man says, turning to his colleague. Keep an eye on them. I'll tell the Baron. After a short wait, the first soldier returns and beckons you inside. The Baron waits. Punctual. Baron Osbert Morland leans over the large wooden table, his palms flat against the grain. Graying hair and a curated beard frame a face with pointed features. His yellow and black tabard hangs over a coat of chainmail. Scrolls, shards, and a silver tray with the remains of a meal rest on the table surface. Ah, you're here. I do appreciate it when people arrive on command. Yeah, I do hope so that the thief doesn't just come back with his little crew, but he seemed to be malnourished, so I think it's just him. You might see him dead on the streets. If something. Let's see. I serve at the Crown's behest. Those who get to issue commands do tend to approach. Those who get to issue commands do tend to appreciate them more than most. I felt that a swift attendance would be most fruitful. I'm a fast walker. Ideas? I'm for that second options issue commands, isn't it? Take the crown. Punctual and dutiful, the Baron says with approving nod. Let us hope that lasts. You reply slight bow of your head. You reply with a slight bow of your head. Marlon shuffles some papers around and motions to an empty chair. Now, sit down and take that damn mask off. You take a seat as instructed and remove my crow mask, cat mask, Skeletor, wolf, Harlequin, stag, sun, hare, or different? Oh, a regular crow mask is pretty striking and fitting for a plague mask, a plague doctor, given a time period. But it's fun enough that they give the options at least. Harlequin might be fun. I'm not sure how anybody ever trusts your medical advice with that visage, says Marlon. But to each their own. You hold your Harlequin mask in your lap. You hold your Harlequin mask in your lap as the Baron continues. I know you plague doctors have diverting personal connections to those awful facial decorations, so out of curiosity, how did you come by that? Do keep it brief. Don't make me regret this. You tell him that I studied medicine at the University of Koliak. I was apprentice to a barber surgeon. From an early age. I served the great Marty Razzies as a faithful acolyte. I fell into the profession by selling medicinal herbs town to town. I picked up medicine as a bodyguard to a woodland apothecary. I've been experimented on so many times, I'm practically invincible. I obtained this mask with a very particular skill set. Let me be specific. Barber surgeon? In about the medieval ages, the barber did not only do cut hair, groom the beard, they also did some dental works and sometimes other things. So the barber in those times were, I can say, very multi-role. Could be interesting to pick. Well, being an experimented on seems to be a funny exchange, no? Yeah, let's go with the experiments. Your memories from before the experiments are distorted and confused. On better days, you can recall answering a call for paid volunteers. Well, paid at that. Then a dilapidated manner figures in Harlequin mask. Strange potions, strange diseases, days of fatigue, bliss, agony, new stitches on old wounds. But each and every time you came out stronger, You wear the mask as a reminder that neither plague nor cure You wear the mask as a reminder that neither plague nor cure could best you. As I suspected, Baron Morland says, your blathering is not a patch on the story of how my family obtained this fine coat of arms. He circles a hand in the direction of this huge embroidered falcon hovering behind his shoulder. Requiring no further prompt, he launches into the saga of how the first Baron Morland, then merely a commander of a small unit of cavalry, lifted the siege of Haresbrough? Yeah, I'm gonna go with that. Lifted the siege of Haresbrough with a timely charge. Foes were routed, heroes were toasted, and crown awarded James Cuthbert Morland III with a barony for his stalwart action that day. It was said that his horsemen swooped down on Haresbrough like a falcon on its prey. Morland says to... There's a train going by. Hopefully you can't hear it. It was said that his horsemen swooped down on Haresbrough like a falcon on its prey, Morland says with a wistful eye. A stirring story, wouldn't you agree? Nothing less than Haresbrough's traitors deserve. I'm sure they speak of Osbert Morland in the same way in time. Oh yeah, his name was Osbert, wasn't it? Did you just ask about me? Did you just ask about me as an excuse to talk about yourself? It made me want a flying horse. Train's gone. It was a long train, I think. Last Ocean has I like Turtles kind of vibes to it, in my ears at least. Talk about yourself, Osbert, traitors. I'm forward. It made me want a flying horse. The Baron scowls. The art of metaphor was missing from your studies, I see. Marlon clears his throat and jabs his finger at a map of the surrounding area. Thornback Hollow is in the grip of an epidemic we cannot explain. Hence the general summons for plague doctors. He tells you that the first reports of the disease came from traders passing along Thornback Hollow's central roads. As more accounts emerged and the threat of a spreading plague became credible, the Crown authorized the mobilization of local peasantry and ordered the town placed on quarantine. I've been here since early autumn, keeping the town locked up and kicking my heels while I followed the law and put out summons. All three of you turned up today. I'll be sending you in just as soon as we finish this little chat. The Baron smooths down his tabard and looks at you. Anything to add at this juncture? Free? All three of us? be interesting to meet those two then. I vowed to find a way to stop this plague. I express my enthusiasm to get started. I show concern for the suffering of the people behind the blockade. I assert dedication to serving the crown. Stop this plague, enthusiasm, concern, or dedication. There's not really any funny options here. Sad. My two pick would be enthusiasm and concern. What about you? Stop? Yeah, let's see we stop. That's the spirit, the Baron says. What can you tell me about the sickness, you ask? That's supposed to be your job, Morland smirks, looking down his nose. I can only relate what I've been told. The plague stops you from sleeping. Those who catch it feel exhausted, but can't rest. Then their memory starts to go. They say the victims start seeing things, hearing things. Eventually, they just lie down and never get up again. He shakes his head. I've skipped a day or two of sleep on campaign, but to go without it for weeks. A low breeze rustles the flap of the tent as you contemplate the Baron's words. Thornback Hollow sits on the Crown's most accessible road to the sea, Marlon continues. If the town falls to the seas, it will be purged and then be abandoned. That purge will, I'm afraid, include you and your colleagues. Not something I'm relishing, but be quite assured that I will carry out that order. He starts to pace back and forth behind the table, arms folded behind his back. I don't know how long I can keep my troops fed on scraps of farmland, but I don't know how much longer the Crown will tolerate the closure of the trade route. So you are advised to work swiftly. The Baron stops and falls silent, looking at you over his shoulder. You sense he's waiting for you to assert your readiness for task ahead. My knowledge of medicine won't let me down. There's not a wound yet devised that my hand cannot stitch. With the deities to guide me, I cannot fail. Knowledge and no wounds to be devised. Deities to guide me. Second? Sure. There's not a wound yet devised that my hands cannot stitch. For your sake, I hope that's the case, Marlon says. You'll be working with a miserable sod who fancies himself a surgeon, and one who thinks he can cure all illnesses because she's read some books. Ichame clings as he places his hand back on the table. I'm sure you'll make a wonderful team. Are you able to uphold the quarantine from the camp, from this one camp, you ask? By the sheer force of my iron will, says Marland. He pauses to gauge your reaction. You blink black. No? Very well. There's a second camp outside the northern gate. This blockade watches the south. The Thornback River runs down the east, and the western cliffs are steeper than any wall that could climb up. I run regular patrols too, just in case anybody feels like trying to swim or climb their way out. Some have tried. The Baron allows that sentence to hang for a moment. We fished Thornback's last physician out of the water about a week ago. Not sure if he was trying to run or if the townfolk got tired of waiting for a cure. Burning the body was a challenge. I'm too magnificent to drown, I'm too menacing to drown, or I'm too tough to drown. Yeah, it's quite both. Just gonna flip coin. Heads for magnificent. Heads, magnificent. Marlon looks you up and down. You do appear to believe that, he says at last. One further thing. Sybil Blake is the town mayor. She's a firm hand and has the crown's blessing. To the best of our knowledge, she's still alive and in power. We'd like her to remain that way. Any more questions? You shake your head. Merciful relief. Now, as stated on your letter of summons, any insights about this disease are to be turned over to the Crown. No exceptions, no excuses. Medical discoveries are imperial property, and refusal to submit said property is theft. You do not yet strike me as a thief. He sorts through some parchments on his desk. It's also my great pleasure to inform you that the court is looking to expand the fellowship of royal physicians. Perform to the satisfactory of the crown, and I will be in a position to recommend you as an appointee. As an appointee. A lot of A's. A bit difficult. Displease the crown and, well, I'm sure it won't come to that. The Baron fixes you with a stare as his lips form that last sentence. Then he smiles. You feel little reassurance. In order to put you forward, I'll need to know your name. What is it? Why aren't I here, you ask? The fellowship. Do your job, and you may ask them yourself, bros. Marlon's brow tightens in frustration. I sent the second rider last week, but can't spare any more horses. So unless I hear otherwise, you're all we got. He taps the parchment. Now, your name. Some quick names here. Alba, Ladislas, Roshilda, Gamo, Idonia, Dachichi, Tamina, Bue, Osana, or writing my own name. Bath. Okay. The Baron notes down your name. There. Now we're properly introduced. Just in time for you to leave. He motions for you to stand up. As he moves to escort you out, one of the tentacles pokes his head through the entrance. Your lordship, we caught another Formback Hollow runaway. She's giving us some trouble. Baron Morland makes a sound of resigned irritation, then motions for you to accompany him. Every blasted second of every accursed day taunts me with new problems. Banff, come with me. You can make yourself useful. You put on your mask and follow me outside. The rain has ceased, and the cool air of the evening feels stiller. Head towards the commotion. The pair of you follow the guard to the outskirts of the encampment, where the main trail winds down a ridge towards Formback Hollow. Between dwellings, squeezed between the rapid waters of the Formback rivers and the western cliffs. The town dwellings squeezed between the rapid waters of the Formback River and the western cliffs are just about discernible in the fading light. Before you can focus too long on the town, your eyes is drawn by a standoff at the side of the road. A tall woman, dressed in simple tunic, is being circled by two uneasy-looking soldiers with cooled pikes. A third aims a crossbow in her direction. On the ground near her feet lie a baggage pack and a bow. I told you, cowards, I'm not even from Formback Hollow. As you approach the Baron Morland, she shouts over to you both. About time, get your thugs off me. I've done nothing wrong. Careful, your lordship, says the person holding the crossbow. She could be sick. We found her near the southern walls. You found me near the forest, idiot, the woman interjects. That's where I was hunting on account of my beings are hunting. On account of my being a hunter. Morland turns to you. That may be so. However, if she broke quarantine to escape Formback Hollow, the punishment is unimaginable. Death. Side with the Baron, it's too risky to let this woman free. I question whether local deity law would sanction a summary execution. Ask for a chance to check her for any sign of infection. Infection. The Baron waves you forward. Fine, yes, do impress us all with your magical prowess. You move beyond the soldiers with pike and approach the woman. She stares at your harlequin mask and puts her hands on her hips. Despite her defiant posture, her eyes betray the helplessness of her predicament. Not worried you catch something then. You tell her checking people for infection is a calculated risk of your profession, and ask if you can look over her for any signs of sickness. Seems like saying no won't do me much good, so go ahead, she says, her arms loosening. You may as well know that I'm Tace. Banff, you reply. Since you have no clear idea of what you are looking for, you perform a basic examination. You perform some basic examinations. You look for any obvious fever, abnormalities in breathing, signs of the pox, and find nothing of concern. But when taking Tace's pulse at her wrist, you feel her wince and pull away. As you feel further along her arm, her discomfort is clear. Perhaps an old broken bone that hasn't set right, or some other skeletal fragility. You look at Tace's bow and recall her claim of being a hunter. She shoots you a panicked glance. Maintain Tace's cover, tell Morland she's hurt and should get further help inform back. Expose Tace's lie and seal her fate. Cover or get her help. Expose, a bit too harsh. All I really know is that she winces when taking the pulse upon the wrist. Can't be sure what it is. Well, maintain cover. Yeah, I think so too. Hopefully it doesn't bite us in the ass. You walk back over to Baron Morland to inform that the woman seems to be free of any sickness. Nonetheless, he says, I don't wish to risk her presence among my men. She's under quarantine. Take her to Thornback Hollow. Morland signals to his men, who gestures in turn to Tace to head down the trail to the town. Merlin signals to his men, who gestures in turn to Tace to head down the trail to the town. She begrudgingly gathers up her belongings, alive, at least. As she leaves, accompanied by the Baron soldiers, she informs you it's time to meet your colleagues. Return to camp. As you head back along the road to Baron Morland's encampment, you hear the steady sound of hoofs. In the glow of newly lit bonfires, you hear it's possible it makes out a small wagon heading in your direction, flanked by a handful of figures. "Oh, for his lordship!" The wagon comes to halt as it pulls alongside you. You catch some hissed discussion within the ranks. What now? Did that petty tyrant forget some Peering into the gloom, you see a figure wearing a fox mask slapped on the arm of a taller shape clad in the Peering into the gloom, you see a figure wearing a fox mask slapped on the arm of a taller shape clad in the mask of a boar. What an unusual sentence. What? Figure wearing a fox mask slapped on the arm. Oh, I see. He has an fox mask around his arm, but he's wearing a boar's mask. Is it? Anyway, it would appear your new colleague has come to us, Morland says. The man leading the horse pipes up, speaking rapidly. Your lordship left instructions for the supplies to leave at nightfall, so we thought... I know what I instructed, the baron replies. Since we're all here, let's have our animal friends meet their accomplices. Since we're all here, let's have our animal friends meet their accomplice. Step forward. I've already forgotten your names. The pair steps closer. There's two. The pair step closer and you clear over. They both wear the traditional waxed leather robes of the profession, along with stylized crafted masks. The boar design appears to have real bone inserted of tusk with the fox mask, while the fox mask is decorated with tufts of fur, sports an elongated snout. I introduce myself to the fox, introduce myself to the boar. I wait for one of them to make an introduction. I stroke the horse pulling the wagon. Ignore everything. But the sentence earlier, I think they were missing a few words in that sentence. It'd probably be one figure wearing a fox's mask around the arm, while another is clad in a boar mask. Has to be it. Introduce myself to the fox, to the boar. I wait for one of them to do the introduction, or ignore everything and just pet the horsey. Petting the horsey is edging things out. I don't trust him to stroke the horse. Low. Yeah, I think there was missing out of the sentence. Yeah, I stroked the horse pulling the wagon. You give the horse a sturdy pat. He wobbles the head approvingly. The masks do share a look. See, I go Thai. Ayoko. I'm gonna go with Ayoko. I'm Ayoko Tai, the man in the boar visage says at last. He props up his mask to reveal an old face with very eyes and stubble peppering in the jaw. This is Alice Fenn. She takes off her vast mask, revealing a young woman beneath. You see that she has the telltale signs of too much time spent in candlelit rooms gazing at literature. He likes sewing people up. I like figuring out He likes sewing people up. I like figuring out better ways to sew people up, she says. You like horses, apparently. You push your mask up to reveal your face. I'm Banff, you say. Perhaps to your company's, perhaps to the horse. Perhaps to the horse. Terrific, truly. I've never seen a tighter bond, says the Baron, cutting in your introductions. These, he points at the wagon, are the supplies for Formback Hollow. As is customary in a crisis under Crown law, you have some authority over some authority over a portion of these resources. Use them as you see fit. The rest will be under the care of Mayor Sybil Blake. Oh, and do make sure that horse comes back. It's the only one we have left. With that, he departs back towards the line of tents, marking the perimeter of the southern camp. You fall in with your new companions and accompanying soldiers. Follow the road to Formback. Your lone baggage train makes a slow but steady progress down the ridge. Even in near darkness, you can make out the imposing canopies and sturdy trunks of the dense oak forest that surrounds the march of the town. The only good thing we liked is horse. Yeah. Animals are always true to themselves. Ayoko and Alice have been engaged in intense discussion since your short journey began, and as the torches of the southern gate loom larger on the horizon, their voices get heated. Deferring to ancient deity customs put people's health at risk, you hear Alice say. But negating those beliefs can cause lasting distress even if the person heals, Ayoko replies, his voice lifting above its prior melancholy cadence. Yes, if the person heals. Something that's far less likely if you're pandering to whatever local deity nonsense they insist upon. The people in Vale of Tellerton think their hive weaver makes all honey sacred, which, according to you, means we should not use it on wounds. Alternatives can often be found. If you're in Tellerton, you can use something else to stave off infection. Should we ignore our oaths as plague doctors and harm the patient by invalidating the Should we ignore our oaths as plague doctors and harm the patient by invalidating their rituals? I seem to recall you dodging a custom or two on our last outing, Alice says. Before you get too sanctimonious about this. Look, Saita's medical circumstances are so pressing that Ayoko notices you watching with the debate and waves you closer. We need a deciding work, Banff. Do our oath to heal give us the authority to bypass deity customs? I side with Alice. Doctors do whatever it takes to heal someone. I side with Ayoko. Respecting deity beliefs can prevent a different type of harm. I mutter I muttered that plague doctors seem to get blamed no matter what they do. Doomed if you do, doomed if you don't. I suggest that many of these problems vanish if you're flexible with the truth. Whatever it takes to heal. Respecting deity. Being blamed for whatever we do, or flex the truth. Yeah, the medicine does that. Though, flexing the truth. Flexing the truth. It's quite vague. It can means a lot of things. The truth about the medicine, the truth about the deity. The truth about our current conditions or the surrounding area. That's not the second option? Oh, he does seem to be a dick. Well, let's go with the ways of a salesman and flex the truth a bit. Should we? Yeah, I'll pick it. Alice makes an overstated groan of pain. Ayoko has sent us a diplomat. The man in the ball mask shakes his head in mock sadness. Not a mere dodge, though, Banff. Maybe you'll be able to cure this plague by talking around in circles. Alice taps you on the shoulder with a fist. No hard feelings. For all we know, that might actually work. Heard you arrived today, same as us, Ayoko says. Where do you hail from? I'm local, born over just the hills. Born just over the hills. I was born in this realm, close to Imperial capital. I traveled here from overseas. My family fled from their land when the crown invaded. Everywhere, I am always at large. Well, being a refugee in the past foreign land, you have a strong, what's the word? Well, it's strong. I feel that one. Hope for an agreement. So, yeah. Let's go for the sad backstory. I had an inkling, says Alice says. The accent plus you have that look about you. You exchange some anecdotes about your upbringing to pass the time. Before the conversation turns to Formback Hollow. What did the Baron tell you about this assignment? Was it that line about getting a spot on the Fellowship of Royal Physicians? Ayoko asked, leaning in to keep your conversation out of earshot of the court escorting soldiers. When you confirmed this to be the case, the surgeon curses to himself. I bet he told you that nonsense about his family coat of arms too. Look, the fact is we're being sent here to fulfill some... Look, the fact is we're being sent here to fulfill Morland's obligations to the crown. An outbreak of plague means sending in the doctors. He doesn't expect success. When we fail, we'll suffer the same fate as the rest of this sorry town. The soldiers leading in the wagon calls the horse to a halt. Formback Hollow's southern gates stand tall before you, flanked by imposing walls. Unease hangs in the air. The horse sways in her harness and stamps at the ground, as if attempting to squirm away. Credentials are exchanged between your escort and the gatehouse guards, and with a slow, mechanical grind, the gates of the town swing open. Enter Formback Hollow. We're inside the Plague Tower now. Chapter 2, Sanctuary. The streets of Formback Hollow lie still beneath the night sky. Besides the creak of your cart's wheels, the thud of hoofs on the earthen road, and the occasional bark from a distant dog, not log. Logs don't even bark. The town seemed to be holding its breath. Even the gatehouse attendants who let you pass appear to have vanished behind the fortifications, gulped back by the lateness of the hour. On the western side of the road, you can just about make out the steady rise of a hill, and atop this barrow, the outlines of grand structures. To the east, a network of narrow street flow into clusters of modest, tight-knit dwellings. You hold your roads closer against the advancing chill of a clear night, as the soldiers who accompanied you unload the supplies from the wagon into the street. Ayoko and Alice are making short patrols around the nearby sacks, crates, and barrels, most likely in a similar effort to stay warm. You direct a comment at the closest group of the Baron's guard. When is the mayor coming to meet us? People need our supplies, or are you just going to leave them in the road? I knew you abandoned us without even place to sleep. Cold one tonight? I'd sooner embrace a frost deity. Well, the mayor was supposed to meet us. People, supplies, well, it's just loading and off leaving into the inside guards, possibly. I knew you abandoned us. They were set to abandon from the beginning. And cold one tonight. Frost deity. It does seem to be the their way to try to strike up a small chatter, like, so how's the weather, and that sort of thing. I think that fits well for the awkward idiot that is us. One of the guards unloading the wagon looks your way, unamused. Summer's faded, he says. Course, it feels a bit warmer when you're busy lifting crates. He stares at you, standing in the otherwise empty street, doing nothing. Your exchange is cut short by a shout of acknowledgement from further down the street. Looking into the murk, you make out the shapes of a uniformed group of 7 or 8 figures heading in the direction of the wagon. They appear to have come from the direction of the hillside. Here we go, one of the guards remarks. Mayor Blake's finest. The militia fan out around the spot where the supplies are being deposited. They're irregularly armed. They're irregularly armed and wear a mismatched selection of jerkin, tabard, and peasant smock. Most, you notice, are dyed a dark blue. A woman who looks like she would have no trouble lifting one of the barrels at her side starts bellowing out orders. Ruff, Gavin, get those crates up the manor. Cicely, take the sacks. The rest of you lot stand guard. We'll switch side. We'll shift. We'll ship. We will. I'll take a drink first. We'll switch. Still. We'll switch shifts in an hour. No breaks until all of this is up the hill. You realize that all may well include a portion of the supplies earmarked for your own use. But defying Mayor Sybil's militia is likely to antagonize her and them. I defer to Mayor's authority, allowed some supplies to be taken, try to convince the militia that some of your supplies are dangerous to the touch. A bit of verbal intimidation should convince them to leave our supplies alone. It looks like this group will only respond to a physical confrontation. Yeah, a bit. Need to train a bit more. I don't know. Are their intelligence low enough to be able to have a charisma check? Defer to Mayor's authority, verbal intimidation. No, not that one. No violence. Yeah. Let's see if they are easily fooled. As one of the militia approaches the smaller bag set aside for your use, you warn him away. I hope you know how to safely handle stinging petals, you say. That bag could have weeping sap all over it. Nasty stuff. Brings up painful welts all over the skin. The man looks uneasy and moves away, dropping his own sack in the process. You head over and edge it towards your. You head over and edge it towards your pile with your leg. Let the doctors keep the strange plants, shouts the muscular woman in charge, waving to the other militia members to stay clear. Well, the check did succeed. Yeah, should just change up line of occupation and just become a diplomat instead. You see the backs of the militia as they disappear into the night, making their way slowly back up the hill at the urging of the leader. Marlon's soldiers are leaving too, turning the empty cart around and heading back for Thornback Hollow's southern gate. You hear horse hoofs cease as the towering entrance is cranked open, then the straining of rope and gears, and the final thud as it swings to a close. An unnatural quiet unfurls back over the street, deserted save for 3 masked figures. You hoist the remaining supplies onto shoulders and underarms, then head down the main street in search of refuge. Move those weary legs. Faces dart away from windows as you pass by. A ragged urchin scoops up a cat and dashes down the side street. Wind disturbs the surface of the puddle around your feet. Somewhere toward the east you hear the rhythmic creaking and banging of a door. Your colleagues are silent, fixed on carrying the supplies and their tired limbs along the street. As you round a curve in the road, the silhouette of a magnificent building looms into view. Constructed around 2 gargantuan oak trunks, its twin towers expand their canopies towards the night sky. Intricate paneling is interwoven with a natural growth of branches, twisted and curled around the building's exterior in a tight embrace. At the building's base, a small crowd has gathered. A man in a shabby grey robe and a green hood runs up to meet you. The sage delivers you in our moment of need. Come, quickly. Hold a moment, you reply as the man moves to depart. Who is this sage? The Sage of Oak. Sage of Oak? Obvious Oak, obvious. Professor Oak, protector of the Thornback Hollow. You look to Alice and Ayoko. Sounds like a local deity. Well, Professor Oak is a bit of a deity as well. Alice says with a slight shrug. Is the sage not known to you? The man asks, perplexed. Then, as if revisited by his purpose, he urges you to follow him. There's not much time. He could fall at any moment. Wait, who are you? Who could fall? What are you talking about? Where are we going? They might answer of who they are while working here and where we are going. They might also say what could fall, what you're talking about. And I feel this one would probably get a no time to explain kind of answer. likely gone near his own name, so I'd like to know where we're going. Dear, the sanctuary of the oak, make haste, follow me. He points to the building up ahead, then strides off at a considerable pace. You find the dregs of vigor in your own body. You hoist your supplies on your shoulders and pursue the roadman. To the foot of the building. As the four of you push through the crowd, you follow the gaze up to one of the spiraling towers. There, at the edge of one of the decorative wooden protrusions, you can just about make out the shape of a lone figure in the moonlight. Your guide takes you beneath a grand archway entrance along a series of corridors, points you up a staircase that take you to the roof. Abbot Quellum can guide you from here. No, Abbot Quellum can guide you from there. We'll take care of your baggage. Hurry. The stairs to the spire are old and long, and the three of you have to pause to catch your breath. When you finally reach the summit, your legs and lungs are burning. Iorka doubles over, taking deep gulps of air. Keep up, old man. You lean on the staircase wall next to Alice, the two of you steadying yourself. Before you can recover, a hand reaches through the stairwell exit and grabs your arm. Exclaim in surprise. The owner of the hand exclaims in return and lets go abruptly. An elderly man, his green hood drawn back, appears around the corner of the wooden door frame. Doctors, a trio no less. This must be fortune of the sage's work. He waves you out of the narrow stairway and onto the towers. Onto the tower's open rooftop. The moment you step out the doorway, wind whips at your robes. Branches snake and curve their way around the building's parapet. Parapet? What's a parapet? Parapet. A parapet is a barrier that is an extension of a wall at the edge of a roof, terrace, balcony, walkway, or other structures. So it's a edge from the wall. Okay. And you hear a low rolling sound, like the creaking of a great ship. Suddenly, your feet feel even less steady than before. The old man is pointing at something with his crinkled hand. Beyond the parapet edge, slumped in the nook where a pair of branches cross like the handles of a farming shears, is a figure in a torn plain smock. I'm Theobald Quelm, the elder man says. I fear we don't have much time. That man escaped from our infirmary this afternoon. Is he afflicted by a sickness that prevents sleep? Asked Alice. Quellem nods. We call it the walking death. That man has not slept for days. Approach the patient with caution. Does remind me of the scene in Life is Strange. Yes, Life is Strange. The three of you edge toward the parapet. As you get within a few feet of the patient, you can see that his clothes is hanging off a thin frame. His legs and knees are marked with a series of sores, no doubt from dragging his exhausted body up the staircase. He snaps upright and lets out a low wail, flapping his arms meekly in your direction. The sudden motion is enough to cause the branches supporting him to sway in an alarming fashion. You look down towards the ground, where torchlight from the gathered crowd provides a mirror of the stars above. A fall from the height would, without question, be fatal. The man's moaning starts to take the shape of words. Creatures, let me leave. Our masks, whispers Alice. If he's trapped within a nightmare, they may be making it worse. Yeah, I can see that. Being deprived of sleep, losing memories and that sort of things would make furry masks to be the thing of nightmares, yes. Let's see. Pull off my mask, launch into a speech with enough gusto to bring the man back to the parapet, leave the mask on, encourage him to follow the mystic hallucinations to safety, take off my mask, climb out to the branch and try to pull him in, with my mask on, diagnose his symptoms in an effort to calm him. Well, trying to make him follow the hallucination do sound funny, but risky. Well, every option here seems risky, at least. The speech with enough gusto, encourage him to follow, climb, warm, diagnose. Mystic hallucination. You dismiss Alice's suggestion with a wave of your hand and stare down the man with your mask still in place. These creatures, you ask, what are they telling you to do? He avoids your gaze. Look at me. Tell me what the creatures want. Want me. Creatures make me. He glances over the side of the supporting branches. Keep looking at me. The creatures are the guides. The creatures are guides. They want to help. You should come to the creatures. No, can't trust eyes, can't trust. The man continuously recoiled from you, squeezing himself back against the embrace of the branches as he exerts more pressure. The wood bows and creaks. You can trust me, you say. Come this way now. The man begins to haul himself to his feet. But before relief can set in, you realize he's moving to cast himself over their side. Stop! Stop! You cry, tearing your mask, gesturing to your colleague to do the same. There are no creatures here. His eyes follow your mask with horror, dart back up to your face, then an empty space below. With barely a sound, he topples over the side of the branch and into the darkness. Curse in frustration at the skies, gaze into the dark void below, offers a quiet words of remorse to your deity. Repeat yourself. That seems to be a good point to stop. Yeah, I'll stop.